Let's work it. Let's work it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Season 3 of Work It, a UVic Career Exploration podcast. This season, we're talking with our wonderful UVic alumni who are making a big difference out there in their communities and talking about the career decisions that have led them to where they are today. We're also connecting with our incredible team of career educators who are guiding us on topics like, what do I even do with my degree? And how do I change career paths? We're going to dive into changing career paths a bit more today, but before we do, I'm your host, Emma, and I can start off by saying that I have changed my career path many, many times. Before we dive into our episode, I'd like to acknowledge that today we're recording at the University of Victoria, which is located on the traditional territory of the Lekwungen, Songhees, and Kosapsan peoples. We want to extend our gratitude for being here as uninvited guests and respect the ongoing historical relationships of the Lekwungen and Wasanich peoples with this land. We're so fortunate to be here. We're so fortunate to work, play, and record this podcast on this beautiful land. We're very thankful for that today. On today's episode, we are going to dive straight into a pretty scary question. What happens if you want to change your career path? Luckily, we're joined by Kerry Vaughan, who is UVic's career educator for alumni. Kerry, we're so excited to have you on the show today. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thanks for letting me be part of the conversation. I appreciate it.
So, Kerry, we're living in some unique times, to say the least, and it seems like things are changing on the daily. From the time that someone starts their degree to the time that they graduate, the landscape of work can look very different. How common is it for students or alumni to feel like they should change career paths by the time they finish their degree?
Yeah, I'd say it's totally okay to change the direction of your career. It's incredibly common to shift a career path. In today's rapidly changing world where industries evolve, even ourselves, our values shift, most people change jobs or career directions multiple times throughout their lives. And just remember, changing direction doesn't mean that it's some kind of failure. It means that you're learning more about yourself and you're adapting to that. And oftentimes that's resilience in action.
Absolutely. And I wonder if you might know of any examples that you could talk to on our show of people who have actually made that change and how it's resulted for them.
Yeah, for sure. I can give my own story and then I'm happy to share another one as well. But I started my career as a university instructor. I taught at a university for over a decade and I loved it. But when I moved to Canada about 12 years ago, I couldn't continue that career. So letting it go was kind of heartbreaking. It felt like I was losing part of my identity. And with that came a little bit of sadness and even a sense of failure, which I think is pretty common when you're doing a career transition.
Yeah, for sure.
A good friend of mine had told me about a job opening at a place called Work BC. It's a provincial program. And at first I couldn't see myself there or how I would fit in. It was so far from what I'd done before. But I took a chance and that role became my entry point. And I talk to a lot of people that I support about finding their entry points. So that became an entry point into a completely new path for me. So what surprised me was how much of my old self came with me into that. I was still teaching, I was still mentoring, just in a different way. So as a career advisor, I use the same empathy, clarity, and purpose that I brought into the classroom, which brought me so much joy. And I can support people to find their path just like I had to find mine. Now, probably 6 years into this new path, I can see how this work brings together so many things that I've always loved. I'm still a teacher at heart, but I just have a new mission, which is helping other people succeed, which is what I did before and I'm continuing to do.
That's wonderful. And I love that you brought up that you brought parts of yourself from that old role with you into your new role, even though you felt at first that maybe you couldn't imagine how that transition would look. And I think we all do that as people, no matter which direction we go, the parts of ourselves that make us who we are, we always bring those with us to whatever we do and whatever path we choose to take. So I love that you brought that up. And yeah, I'd love to hear your other example.
Sure, yeah. I think one thing I do in my role, as well as helping people that have started a career and are transitioning or pivoting, is helping a lot of recent grads that maybe have changed their mind probably along the way, but haven't made that decision until after they've graduated to really change a new direction. So I sometimes will work with someone several times as we're working on a plan. It's not normally a one-time thing. I worked several times with a recent grad who began her university journey studying psychology. She was really driven, this is pretty common, by a desire to understand and support people. But as she was moving through her degree, she started taking courses in topics like social psychology, ethics, public policy, things like that. And it really sparked, I think, something deeper in her. So she realized it wasn't just individual well-being that interested her. It was the systems that shape it. She did some volunteer work, and also through some coursework, she became passionate more about social advocacy and policy change. So by the time she graduated, she had shifted her paths entirely. And so now she's chosen to pursue a master's degree in public policy with a focus on mental health equity. So again, this idea of bringing in a lot of those same things that spoke to you before and put you on this path, but shifting in a different way with a different focus.
That's wonderful. Hopefully she has found herself much happier where she's at now. That's really a great story.
Yeah.
So when someone comes to you and they say, you know what, this isn't working for me. I'm just feeling stuck where I am right now and I want to restart or I want to explore something else. What does the process look like when you support them through those initial feelings?
Right. Yeah. Again, I really just want to emphasize that this is so common for people. Again, I think a lot of, especially recent grads, feel like there's a bit of failure that comes along when they decide to shift a bit. And it's just so incredibly common. If you talk to anyone, you're going to know that. So I think as a career educator, I start by normalizing that feeling of wanting to do a restart or explore other possibilities. So I'll support a recent grad or an alum by first having a career conversation, creating a real safe space to talk about what's working and what's not in their current direction, and maybe what's drawing their curiosity elsewhere. I actually spend a lot of time on having them look through the what's not working, because I think that's just really as important as what's drawing them somewhere else. What about your current situation is not working? What do you not want to pull into your future?
Yeah.
These conversations will help sometimes clarify what their values are, what their interests are, what their priorities are. If they are working right now, maybe looking at their present working circumstances, what is changing? Is it something with their current job or maybe even their sector that is changing? Because that's going to be happening for a lot of us. And sometimes it's just someone's values or needs have changed. That's super common. Once we have that kind of initial conversation, we might look at career assessments. These are sort of psychometric assessments. They're not going to give you all the answers, but it can help you slow down and look at yourself, I think, a bit more holistically, looking at or exploring more your skills, your personality, your interests, and connecting those with real world career options. It's not perfect, but I think it opens up possibilities to explore. So we'll look at some assessments if they're open to it. If someone's identified a direction, we're always going to look at what the labor market looks like and do some industry research. No one should go into something just because it sounds good or the pay is good or anything like that. So I help people explore what's happening in those sectors that they're curious about. What are the trends? We'll look at that. The biggest thing are what are the entry points to things? I'm going to say this over and over because I always talk to people about entry points. Maybe what additional skills they might need. Do they have to do upskilling? Are there micro-credentials they might need to do? One of the most important things you can do is talk to people who are in those roles. So taking the time to request a coffee chat, an informational interview, that's just worth its weight in gold to hear someone who's doing that role and get a really good idea of like, what does the day-to-day actually look like? So you don't have this romanticized version of what that role is. You hear what the day-to-day is. You also get to ask questions about what's a good way to enter into this field. You get that feedback too. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to start some planning. So that's kind of the roadmap to what I do.
I think that's incredible and so, so helpful. And boy, oh boy, do I wish that I had gone to you and I had known about this service when I had been making my career change. I think it would have made me feel so much better about the scary parts of making the transition. And I'll tell you a little bit about my career change because hopefully it might resonate with one of our listeners here. But when I first came to UVic, I came here thinking I was going to be a doctor and I was going to do biology and it was going to be awesome. And it was until physics and chemistry made me realize, oh, no, I don't like this at all. This is not fun in any way, shape, or form. And it got me thinking, okay, why do I even want to be a doctor in the first place? Like, what is it that I really love about this field? And the more I dove into it, the more I was like, you know what? This just doesn't seem right for me. But I had told my parents, like, this is what I'm going to do. And they were so happy for me. And I was like, oh no, I don't want to tell them that I don't want to do this anymore. So I switched over to humanities and immediately was so much happier. I was so glad to be there. It suited me so much better. I loved my degree. And I loved being in humanities, and it was wonderful. And when I graduated, I started working for Co-op and Career, and I was working as the communications and events coordinator. And I loved that role. I spent a couple of years doing that role, and it was wonderful and fun. And then after a while, I started thinking, am I going to do this for the rest of my life? Like, where do I go from here? And the more I looked around in that particular communications and events sector, there's not a lot of upward mobility. You can just switch to other companies and kind of do the same work just for other places. And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, something's missing here. This isn't right. And I thought it's not Co-op and Career because I loved working with you guys. It was amazing, obviously, because I'm still here. But I thought, you know what? There's something missing. So I'm going to try relying a little bit more on my minor, which was environmental studies, because I'm very passionate about the environment and about the natural world. And I thought, I'm going to go work for an NGO in the environmental sector and do the same work, but for them and see how I feel. So I did. I worked with Pacific Wild for a bit, and that was also a really wonderful role. The team was great. It was so much fun. But that nagging feeling was still there, like, I can't do this forever. And I thought, oh, great. Now what am I going to do? Because I've already completed my degree. I'm already out in the working world. And what options do I even have? And my partner and I sat down because I shared my feelings with him, and we decided that it was worth going back to school for another degree if there was a chance that it would bring that passion back so that I wasn't miserable in my work. So we made the jump. It was terrifying. And I came back to UVic for my Restoration of Natural Systems degree. And I'm now just wrapping that up. And I am so glad that I did it because it just opened a whole new world for me. And I felt the passion come back instantly. And it wasn't that I didn't like the work I was doing before. It just didn't feel like it was the end. And I couldn't see another way in the path that I was on to get there. And so then coming back and changing directions was maybe the best thing that I could have done. And now I'm so excited to dive into this new space and see where I can find myself there. So yeah, it was terrifying, but I'm glad to be where I am. It was the right time. It was the right fit. I think there's a lot of folks who just feel like they've already put so much into where they started that they're like, well, I can't change now. I've already gotten this far. I'd love for you to speak to this too, but my personal feeling was I also have the rest of my life. Sure, I've put in a couple of years, but I have the rest of my life. So in that case, it's worth letting those couple of years guide me into something else. And I don't know, what do you think about that sunk cost fallacy bit?
Yeah, you're 100% right on. And you're young, right? So think how people feel when they're coming to me in their 40s and 50s and saying, I've got to figure out another plan. It's hard to take those chances, right? You're lucky because you had a partner that supported you in these decisions. And there's a lot of things that get in our ways. We get in our own way a lot of times. And we
Yeah.
also are dealing with expectations from family.
Mhm.
And then even just like the expectations we have from ourselves, like what we thought we were going to be or
Yes.
do. It's hard to get over. It really is hard to get over. So you're lucky when you have people supporting you along the way. You also are really smart in that you just tried things because you don't know what's not going to work until you try it, right? And that's hard too because sometimes a lot of time and effort can just go into trying something and then realizing, oh, you know what, that's not it. But it helps you clarify so much if you can try it.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about participating in co-op while you're a student is that then you get to try out some of those different career options while you're still in school.
Even if you can just go somewhere and volunteer a couple hours a month and try it.
Yes.
Because your idea of what something is versus what the reality or the day-to-day can be so different. You're so fortunate for a lot of reasons that you have the support and that you were able to try the things that it's not like they were failures at all, but it really helped move you into the right direction. So I'm really excited to see what that next step is for you.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for that. It's so nice and validating to hear you are doing the right thing. You're so right. I'm so grateful for the support that I've received from my family and friends. And I can imagine it would feel a lot harder and maybe more lonely if you don't have those supports to rely on. And if that resonates with any of our listeners, do come and chat with a career educator or with Kerry and find some support here because there's lots to be found. So let's say an alumni has graduated and they had this idea that they were going to do a certain career with the degree that they got, and then they realized afterwards, maybe this wasn't the right fit for me. How do you then help them figure out a new direction if they only had that one career in mind?
Yeah. Again, I'm just going to say it's so extremely common. And I just try to always put that on people because we put so much pressure on ourselves, especially as recent grads, because you have this idea in your head of what it's going to look like. It's so common to change your mind. So I really try to normalize that. I really just try to help people reflect and realign. So I have a bit of a framework to reflect on what's missing and then walk them through again, identify what things energize them. Maybe looking at past roles they've had. What were courses that they took? What's the volunteer work that they've done? What made them come alive or feel satisfied? And then again, looking at what are your values? Is it autonomy? Is it security? Is it creativity? Is it making a social impact? So these really can guide your career choices the more you think about that and realize it. And then always doing an inventory of what your skills are, your present skills. Transferable skills are so important. I think a lot of people don't value that. I just did an event yesterday with 4 alum, and one of the biggest themes was talking about how valuable your soft skills are. Can you think outside the box? Are you a good communicator? Things like that. So really evaluating what are your transferable skills. Are you a good problem solver? If so, why? Show me what it looks like. Research across fields and things like that to bring out transferable skills that maybe you aren't identifying. And then let's just explore other options. Maybe they're really adjacent to what you had planned, and it's just something that you hadn't thought about. So we talk a lot about what's the parallel path. It's not this, it's not what you thought, but is it actually just adjacent to that in just some sort of different way, some sort of small pivot that takes you somewhere else that better aligns with where you want to go now that maybe you hadn't thought you wanted to go before. So much, especially when you're a recent grad, can change from when you decide what you want to study until the end. You change so much in those years. I just want to reiterate how common it is, and don't be hard on yourselves, whether you're a student now or a grad student or your alumni. Like, you have a whole team of people at UVic that love the work that they do, and you'll see that. So come to us. We're here to support you.
I love that. And it's so helpful. And I do remember the intense fear before making the choices that I made. It felt almost paralyzing at times. And if someone came to you and they weren't sure if they should take that leap, what would you recommend to them?
I would say change is scary, right? Fear is part of the change, but then what comes out of that is a lot of growth as well, and that's the positive part of that. So they work together. You don't have to know exactly where you're going to begin moving forward. Take one small step. Maybe it's booking a conversation with me or with somebody else, someone in the field. Attend a panel discussion about what you're interested in. Volunteer in a new field. You don't have to take this really big leap. Just start some small pivots, because once you do that, it's really going to open your world up to bringing maybe you some answers and some clarification. Often what people need really is not the certainty to be able to move forward, but they just need to give themselves permission to do it, and that's the hard part.
Mm-hmm.
So be curious, make the mistakes. That's how we're going to grow and figure out the next steps.
Thank you, Kerry. That's so helpful. And before we wrap up today, is there anything else that we haven't touched on yet that you think would be helpful to share with our listeners?
When we're talking about careers, it isn't linear. There is not a straight line. You're not behind in life. You're on your right path. You're not supposed to have it figured out all at once, and definitely not from the beginning. So keep working on it. Get the support that you need. We're here to help. Don't be hard on yourself. This is life.
Kerry, thank you so much. I can feel the support through the microphone. It was so lovely to have you on the show. Thank you so much for sharing everything with us. And everybody, please, if you're feeling any doubt about your career path, come talk to Kerry. I can guarantee she is the kindest, nicest, sweetest person. Yeah, don't be unhappy for the rest of your life. There's so much more of it for you to live and explore. So thank you for being on the show. We really appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Thanks for letting me be a part of it.
Work It is developed and distributed by Co-op and Career Services at the University of Victoria. It is hosted by Emma Overland and produced by Joy Poliquin. Our theme music and art were created by Emma Overland with audio editing by Emma Overland. Today's guest was UVic Career Educator Kerry Vaughan. If you're a UVic student or an alumni and you want to book an appointment with Kerry or one of UVic's other career educators, you can do so by visiting uvic.ca/career-services. Don't forget to follow us and leave a like wherever you listen to podcasts.